Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about how to conduct your interview for the Our World in Data project, whether you choose to do that interview in person or remotely. So there are a few different considerations for both. And the first thing I want everyone to think about is, who should you interview? This is something that most of you have already decided because you have an assignment due tonight where you need to give me the name of the person you're going to interview, when you're going to interview them, and what you plan to ask them. But in case you're still unsure, these are some considerations that could help you. So you should interview somebody who has a lot of expertise, and that expertise should be specifically about the topic that is shown in the data visualization or the chart that you found on the Our World in Data website. It's really hard to define exactly who a subject matter expert really is or what expertise consists of, but these are a few things that could be considered as expertise. Having an advanced degree related to the topic is one thing. Having many years of experience working in a field that's directly related to the topic could be something. By many years, I mean at least 5, right? Somebody who has received an award or some kind of recognition related to the topic would be a good choice. Or someone who's simply really well known by the community that surrounds people affected by the topic that you're talking about. So it should be a name that's recognizable to people who discuss the issue at hand, or people who are familiar with the topic that you're talking about. So really try to aim high, because it's going to be one of your only assignments that are entirely based on an interview. So this is a really good chance for you to try and interview someone that you're genuinely interested in talking to and that you admire a lot. So once you've chosen someone or a few different people to reach out to, because some people might not respond or might not have availability, so it's good to reach out to multiple people, right? You'll need to prepare your questions. And there are a few different things that students usually ask me. The number one question that I've been getting is, how many questions do I need to write? And I'm not going to give you a specific number, because I really want you to approach this assignment with curiosity and with an open mind, and write basically as many questions as possible, because you're going to want to make sure that you fill up the time that you've set aside to interview the person that you're speaking to. I would say enough questions to fill up an hour of conversation time. How many questions is that? That really depends on your interviewing style and on the style of the person who's going to be answering. So I would just say prepare many more questions than you think you'll actually need, because you'll be surprised how quickly you move through questions and how quickly the time actually passes. So just prepare more questions than you think you need. Prepare lots of questions that speak to your curiosity and your genuine interest in the person. If you're genuinely interested in the topic and in the person, then your interview is going to be so much better. So try and align those goals. Another really common question is, what should your interview questions be about? And this can really be anything that you think is interesting. Your questions can be about the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how of anything related to your topic. So if you're looking at data about world hunger and you're talking to someone who works for a nonprofit that tries to solve world hunger, you could ask them, why is it so important to try and solve world hunger? You could also ask, why are there so many people suffering from hunger around the world? So these are just questions that you come up with and that you think would be interesting for an audience to read about later. This is really flexing your muscles of storytelling and trying to come up with things that are interesting. Another thing you'll want to make sure to ask about is the data that's shown in the visualization that you chose. So you should show the chart or the visualization to the person that you're interviewing during the interview and ask them about it. Ask them, what does this data mean to you? What does it represent? Why is the data showing a particular pattern or a particular maximum value, minimum value, average value? Anything that you can pull from the data itself and ask about is going to make your interview much stronger, and it's going to prepare you for the rest of this class when we're going to be constantly talking about data and about basically statistical analysis. So anything that you can ask about the numbers, the data, and the information shown in the visualization is a plus. And finally, you should always be respectful in your interviews and open to change the way you're framing your questions. If something goes in a direction that you weren't expecting, you can remain curious and follow that new direction, even if the questions that you prepared are different from the way that the interview is going. So you can be open to change. If during the interview something really interesting comes up, you should ask about it. Or if the person you're interviewing really wants to talk about a certain aspect, then you should be respectful and curious and allow them to speak about what they think is important and not just what you think is the most important through your questions. So it's kind of like a balance. You want to be prepared and you want to have plenty to talk about, but you also want to remain flexible and maybe take the conversation into new directions as you're actually sitting in the interview. Okay, so if you are conducting your interview in person, let's get into the logistics. I'm going to ask everyone to download the Rode Reporter app. This is an app that's created by the Rode microphone company, and it's freely available for both iPhone and Android. I recommend this app because it records pretty good quality audio, even if you don't have a microphone, even if you're just using your phone by itself. So once you download the app, you'll be able to record as many audio files as you want. So you can decide if you want to break up your interview into multiple audio files or if you want to do one long audio file. That's really up to you, and we'll talk about editing audio later on. But first, I want to just play a quick video that shows how to use the app itself. It's pretty simple. And if you need more information about it other than this quick video, then you can go to rode.com/software/reporter app, and they have tutorials, information, and a download link so that you can read more about it. I'll also post these slides so you can follow this link directly from the slides once I do that. Okay, so let's say that I've already installed the Rode Reporter app. I can open it up, and the first thing I'll see is actually this record tab. To record, all I need to do is press on the red button in the middle and then just start talking. I'll see the levels go up and the line move up and down to show that I successfully recorded. After you record, you go to your library and you can rename the recording to give it a meaningful title that actually relates to what it is. This is really helpful if you have multiple files, because then you can know which one is which. And so you can also play the recording in that little preview window of the library. And let me actually pause this for a second and go back. So the way that I renamed that file was by clicking on this info icon. All right. And the way that I played the clip to test it was by clicking on the little play icon. These are always in order of when they were recorded, so your most recent one is going to be at the bottom. Okay, and if you needed to delete it, there is a delete icon, but try to keep your clips just in case as a backup and don't delete them. All right, so if you're ready to save your interview file, then this next part is going to show you how to do that. You click on the icon that's all the way to the right of your clip. Let me show it in the screen prior. This icon right here to share the file. Then it'll give you these options. I prefer to choose either Google Drive or Gmail. Gmail would be to email it to yourself, for example. And this is going to be a .wav file or .wav. That's just what we need, and that's fine for you to use. So you can add it to your drive or email it to yourself. After you've done that, you're pretty much done. You can go back and do more recordings, or you can close out the app and move on to the next steps. If you have any questions about any of that, or if you want me to show you again, then please feel free to reach out to me or to go back to the slides and watch the video at your own pace. It's fairly self-explanatory. Okay, so what about if you're on Zoom, right? Not everybody is going to have the option to talk to somebody in person or to get good audio in person, right? So if you choose to use Zoom, there's an audio recording feature that's built in. And this is for paid Zoom accounts, so I need to confirm and see whether all of you have it as students. But if you don't, you can use the regular recording and then just separate the video from the audio with a program like Adobe Premiere Rush or Adobe Premiere Pro. And that's just because you only want the audio in the final version. And I'll talk about how to separate the video from the audio in another video, another set of slides basically. But I'm hoping that everyone has access to the audio recording feature, because that just automatically records an audio file for you, and that is just as good as recording on your phone. However, you do need to make sure, whether you're using your phone or you're on Zoom, that your interviewee has good, clear audio with no background noise. So you should record a little bit and then play it back as a test, right? That's a really good way to try and see. You should also ask your interviewee, if they're on Zoom, to wear earpods or headphones that have a microphone. This is going to greatly increase your audio quality. It's really important. So make sure that your interviewee is in a quiet place, that they have good audio, because this is an audio story. This is really important. Okay, so if you're using the Zoom audio recording feature, then you can go to the settings of your Zoom profile, log in with your FIU account, and then go to the settings options, the recording tab, and then there's a place to check the box for record an audio file. This is only compatible with a cloud recording and not with a local recording, by the way. There's also a box to create an audio transcript. So that's a good option to check as well, so that you can compare it with the transcript that everyone's going to create using otter.ai. You can have your own version with Zoom to sort of see which one turned out better. So I'm going to show you this on the Zoom settings page really quick. So if I'm on Zoom, then you can go to settings and then recording, and make sure that this option next to cloud recording is turned on, right? And then down here, there's an option that says record an audio only file. You'll want to check this box, and you'll want to check this box next to audio transcript. And then save your settings, and that's it. It'll automatically save it to your cloud file system here in Zoom. Okay, and it'll show up under meetings, and then previous meetings, they'll all have links here. We'll talk more about how to access the cloud recordings in another set of slides, another video. Okay, so how about during the interview itself? What should you do and how should you proceed? Well, the most important thing is that you want to be able to hear your interviewee clearly. So all of these tips that are on this slide relate to that. The first tip is, if your interview is happening and the person you're interviewing says something while some kind of background noise is happening, let's say a motorcycle passes by or something crashes in the background or somebody says something in the background, it's really important to ask them to repeat what they said. And this can be really awkward if they're in the middle of saying something. You can let them finish their thought and then ask them to repeat themselves, but that'll just be kind of more for them to talk about, more for them to repeat. So try to catch it quickly and say, oh, could you please repeat that? There was some background noise. Or I didn't quite hear that. Can you say that again? And it'll just make your life so much easier because you won't have to edit out strange noises after you're done with your interview. This also works for Zoom. While you're in Zoom and recording, you can ask someone politely, hey, can you please repeat what you were saying about X, Y, and Z because the audio quality dropped out or my internet was slow or whatever. It's better to have multiple versions of the same thing than to run the risk and be like, oh, I hope that sounded okay. It's better to just ask them to repeat themselves. Another tip is something that we already talked about a little bit, and that is ask follow-up questions, even if you don't have them written down as part of your previously prepared questions. If something that the interviewee says could lead to something else, always ask a follow-up question. Try to get more information. Try to get them to say more about what they were talking about. Oftentimes, the best little tidbits of the interview, the best parts of the conversation happen through those follow-up questions. So always, always, always ask follow-up questions. Okay, here's an important one. I put it in bold and I highlighted it. Do not say anything and do not make any noises while the interviewee is speaking. This is the number one problem that I run into with students because we're just not used to it. We're usually talking to someone and we're usually saying, yeah, and we're interjecting and saying, yeah, me too, that's a great point. When you're interviewing, you need to stop all of those noises that just instinctually happen. You have to catch yourself and stop yourself from saying or anything like that. In order to stop yourself, a really good thing to do is to use body language instead. So use a lot of nodding, a lot of pointing, like, good point, without the noises, right? So you can nod your head, you can indicate, like, say more, you can give them a thumbs up, right? Just anything. It's a little bit cheesy, it's a little bit awkward, but if they look at you like, why aren't you saying anything? You can kind of grab your headphones or point at your phone if you're recording, right? And just say you can't say anything, but you'd like them to say more, right? So just do a lot of nodding your head, a lot of hand gestures, and do not make any noise until they have completed what they're saying. Then you can ask another question, or then you can express and say, I just want to say I agree with what you were saying, or that was a really good point when you said that, and just say it all after they're done. Okay? And if you're using your phone to record with the Rode Reporter app, it's important for you to hold the phone close to the person who's speaking. So this is kind of intuitive, right? If you're speaking, put it near your mouth to ask the question. And it's good to tilt the phone, sort of like if you had a microphone, because that will instinctually have the person like speaking into the microphone. And tilting it also helps it, kind of angle towards your phone's microphone. And then if they're speaking, you want to hold it up to them and tilt it really close to their mouth. Again, it's awkward because you're holding something really close to someone's mouth, but the closer you hold it, the better the audio is going to be. So always remember to hold the phone close. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that you need to know in order to successfully conduct your interview. In future informational videos, I'm going to talk about separating your audio file from your video file. For example, if you use Zoom. I'm going to talk about editing your audio lightly. We're just going to be removing things like repeated phrases or portions where there was background noise. We're going to try and remove some excessive ums or other interjections, and we're going to try to improve the audio quality just a little bit. Nothing extreme, just some light editing. We're also going to be talking more about how to access those recording files in the Zoom cloud. This is going to be after I confirm that you have access to cloud recording, so stay tuned for that. We're also going to talk about how to transcribe your audio using the Otter.ai app. This is going to be useful for Zoom or in-person recordings. And we're going to talk about how to upload your audio to SoundCloud and then put your SoundCloud clip into your Medium article. And that's basically it. Check out the assignments that are coming up on Canvas. The one for tonight is this one, questions for the Our World in Data interview / confirmed interviewee, right? And check out also the Our World in Data interview story assignment as a whole, because this talks about how you need 100 words minimum to introduce your interview, how you need to set up your Medium article, right? And how you need to actually include a picture of the Our World in Data visualization. I'll talk more about this in class, but for now, just make sure to reach out to me with any questions. All right, I'll see you guys very soon.